When we think of a cartel leader, our mind automatically pops up images of El Chapo and Pablo Escobar. Whoever comes to mind is probably a middle-aged man, right? Believe it or not, behind every great criminal organization, there's often a female cartel leader in charge. And their reigns of terror are as brutal as their male counterparts, if not more. In this video, we'll take a look at 10 of the most terrifying female cartel leaders.
Shall we begin?
Number 10. Sandra Avila Beltran, Queen of the Pacific. Meet Sandra Avila Beltran, a woman who oozed glamour and danger in equal measure and climbed to the very top of the Mexican underworld. Looking at her life, it seems that Sandra Avila Beltran was destined for the drug world. Her father was related to the founder of the Guadalajara cartel, so she had connections in high places from the start. But Avila wasn't satisfied with just riding on daddy's coattails. Oh no, she was determined to become the queen of cocaine herself. And boy, did she ever succeed. She rubbed elbows with the likes of El Chapo Guzman and even dated a top leader of the Sinaloa cartel. Talk about some serious power couple goals, but it wasn't just her charm that won over these men. Avila had some serious skills too. She commanded a fleet of 30 cars and could shoot better than the head bodyguard to Rafael Caro Quintero, founder of the Guadalajara cartel. Can you say sharpshooting queen of the Pacific? But how did she manage to climb to the top of the cartel world? Beltran initially dreamed of being a journalist, but fate had other plans when she was kidnapped by a jealous boyfriend with ties to the cartels. How long was she held captive? Why exactly did he do it? We may never know for sure, but one thing's for certain, it changed the course of her life. And boy, did she make a splash in the world of drug trafficking. Known as the Queen of the Pacific, she was the mastermind behind the smuggling of tons of cocaine hidden in tuna boats from Mexico to the United States. That's right, she was the key link between cartel leaders in Colombia and Mexico, and she pulled off some seriously impressive feats without ever leaving any evidence behind. But let's not forget the glamorous side of being a cartel queen. With untold millions at her disposal, Beltran lived life to the fullest. She amassed a fleet of 30 cars, and don't even get us started on the gold Tutankhamun pendant with 83 rubies, 228 diamonds, and 189 sapphires. From the Queen of the Pacific to prison strifes, Sandra Avila Beltran's life story reads like a Hollywood blockbuster. With her AK-47 in hand, she managed to get a shout-out from Los Tucanes de Tijuana in their hit Psalm Party in the Mountains. But as they say, with great power comes great danger. When her son was kidnapped, the game changed. Police began to suspect her, and she spent 5 years on the run, changing her identity and even her hair color. When she was arrested, Beltran was charged with money laundering instead of drug trafficking. How did this impact her prison experience? Well, let's just say that her designer clothes, high heels, and 3 maids served her well behind bars. Now at 56, Avila is focused on reconnecting with her son and rebuilding the relationships that were shattered by her years as a fugitive. She may not be ruling over the cartel world anymore, but she's still got her contacts and her reputation. While Sandra was a homegrown cartel leader, some drug lords are born in beauty pageants. Number 9. Emma Coronel. Isaro, now get ready for a narco romance that will make your heart race. Emma Coronel, a U.S. citizen born in Santa Clara, California, was no ordinary beauty queen. She was born into the house of a Mexican drug trafficker. But her criminal history starts elsewhere. She won the pageant at a coffee and guava festival with none other than notorious drug lord El Chapo in attendance. And if that's not enough, she went on to marry the man himself in 2007. Was she his third wife or possibly his fourth? The mystery remains unsolved. It seems like fate brought them together, but the course of true love never did run smooth. Just a few years into their marriage, Guzman was arrested on the border along with Emma's older brother, and he was sent to jail. But Emma, being the loyal wife that she is, didn't let that stop her from securing a future for their children. She even went on a road trip to California while pregnant with twins to give them the gift of U.S. citizenship. During her husband's 2019 trial in New York, Cornell became a media sensation for her designer outfits and loyalty to her infamous husband, even as prosecutors detailed his string of lovers. But did she really play a pivotal role in El Chapo's Hollywood-style prison escape via a mile-long tunnel under his shower? One former lieutenant of Guzman certainly thinks so. Emma Coronel was not your typical drug lord's wife. She was a public figure, an entrepreneur, and a gatekeeper, basically the triple threat of the underworld. But unlike most drug traffickers' wives, she wasn't just arm candy. She had agency, she had power, and she knew how to wield it. Something about breaking the glass ceiling of the drug world. But even the infamous Emma Coronel couldn't escape the long arm of the law. In 2021, she finally fessed up to helping her husband run his drug empire, which isn't exactly the kind of thing you put on your resume. The prosecutors were hoping to throw the book at her, but the judge must have had a soft spot for her, because she got off with a lighter sentence. Emma's set to be released in September 2023, so who knows what kind of shenanigans she'll get up to next. Maybe she'll launch a new clothing brand for ex-cons or host a prison-themed party. The possibilities are endless, and the only cartel leader that comes close to the woman of El Chapo is none other than La Negra. Number 8. Jessica Oseguera. It is time to hear about a family drama that's more intense than anything you've seen on TV. Jessica Oseguera aka La Negra is a woman who has been in the business for over a decade. Is the daughter of Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, better known as El Mencho, the head honcho of Mexico's Jalisco New Generation Cartel. With a group of 5,000 hitmen at his disposal, El Mencho is one of the most wanted drug traffickers in the world, with a $10 million bounty on his head. But La Negra wasn't just twiddling her thumbs while her dad ran the cartel. She was busy running her own businesses, including a tequila brand and a sushi restaurant, and that were under the Jalisco New Generation umbrella. The U.S. authorities were onto her, warning her to stay away from her father's illegal activities. Although she seemed to have listened, shutting down a few of her businesses and changing some names, the long arm of the law finally caught up to her. Initially claiming innocence, La Negra was found guilty of helping her dad launder money through various businesses. In a shocking turn of events, La Negra was found guilty of helping her dad launder money through various businesses. Jessica Oseguera was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison for helping daddy launder money through various businesses. Oseguera was said to have given up information about her fugitive father in exchange for her extremely lenient sentence. Maybe blood isn't thicker than water after all. In her letter to the judge, Oseguera also expressed remorse and asked for forgiveness, admitting that she should have paid more attention to her actions' consequences. But not everyone makes it out alive from the turbulent world of cartels. Number 7. Lopez Esquivel. Maria Esquivel was only 21 when her life came to a violent end. She had become one of the leading figures in the CJ Yang cartel, working as the boss of hitmen and earning the nickname Cruel Sicaria for her horrifying atrocities. But how did a young woman like her end up in such a dangerous world? It all started when Maria hooked up with Miguel Fernandez, one of the leaders of the cartel. Enchanted by the rock and roll lifestyle that many of the members lead, it wasn't hard for her to get sucked in. Before long, she was deeply involved in the cartel's operations, responsible for paying other members and coordinating kidnappings, assassinations, and extortion. Despite her young age, Maria had become a force to be reckoned with in the criminal underworld. But her life came to a sudden end when Mexican authorities raided a safe house she was staying at with armed members of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. In the ensuing shootout, Maria was shot in the neck and died on her way to the hospital. It's a tragic story, and one that raises important questions about how young people can be lured into dangerous criminal activities. But it's also a reminder of the dangers of the criminal underworld and the risks that come with getting involved with dangerous people. And nothing says more dangerous than running with the Sinaloa cartel. Number 6. Clara Elena Labaran. Once upon a time, there was a beauty queen from Sonora named Clara Elena Labaran, who married Hector Beltran Leyva, El Chapo's ex-partner in the Sinaloa cartel. They called her the Missus, and her husband treated her like a trophy wife. However, things got ugly when Beltran Leyva accused El Chapo of snitching on his brother and launched a bloody war against the Sinaloa cartel. To direct the money laundering part of her husband's Beltran Leyva cartel, the Missus was enlisted. But that wasn't enough drama for her. In 2010, she was kidnapped by a rival group, blindfolded, and held captive with her hands and feet tied while they pointed automatic rifles at her. After 13 days, they released her, and she returned to manage the cartel's finances like a boss. When her husband was arrested 4 years later, the Mrs. became the head of the cartel and launched one of the bloodiest waves of violence in Acapulco. She turned the resort city into Mexico's murder capital, and tourists were forced to step over bullet-riddled bodies on beaches. The saying goes, "Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned," and in the Mrs. case, it seems like she took it to the next level. However, she claims she's not part of the cartel anymore, but we can't be sure. It's time for today's subscriber pick. One of our subscribers has left us this leaked image, and quite frankly, we are kind of speechless. This image has single-handedly changed our perception of female cartel bosses and workers, because as it turns out, they can throw a punch and keep up with style. And we're just not talking about any style. The blonde hair with blue streaks reeks of Gen Z fashion. Gosh, how early do these drug lords start their criminal trajectory? There's a lot of speculation about this fashion diva/cartel worker's arrest. So get your detective hats on, because who is this cartel girl boss? Now on to the next one. Number 5. Anidina Arellano Felix. Move over, Walter White. There's a new drug lord in town, and she's breaking all the stereotypes. The Arellano Felix brothers were notorious drug traffickers in Tijuana, but they had a strange tradition of meeting their demise at festive events. One was gunned down by a clown at a party, another was shot dead during a carnival, and a nephew was nabbed while cheering on Mexico during the Soccer World Cup. But now, the clan has done something that would make even the most macho cartel leaders tremble. They've let a woman take the reins. Anidina Arellano Felix, known as La Jifa, is believed to be running the remnants of the Tijuana cartel, which smuggles everything from marijuana to crystal meth across the world's busiest border crossing into California. At 54 years old, this trained accountant is reportedly more business savvy than her male counterparts, and less inclined towards partying or sadistic behavior. But don't let her quiet demeanor fool you. Anidina is a force to be reckoned with. The U.S. Treasury has blacklisted her and her companies under the Foreign Narcotics Kingpin Act, and anyone doing business with her risks facing hefty fines. Yet despite the risks, Anidina has managed to keep her operations running smoothly, even as other cartel bosses have been taken down by police and soldiers. She's not interested in bloody turf wars. She's all about making money and building alliances. But who is this mysterious queenpin? Little is known about Anidina besides her reputation and a few family photos from the 80s. She's been married and divorced at least twice, with one husband allegedly a fellow money launderer. Her current marital status is anyone's guess. In fact, Anidina's legend has taken on a life of its own in popular culture, with drug ballads and films inspired by her rise to power. It seems that Jifa de Tijuana may be a woman of few words, but her actions speak volumes. While there have been other female drug traffickers before her, Anidina could be the first to head an entire cartel who says crime is a man's world. Number 4. Jemiker Thompson. The 1980s crack epidemic in Los Angeles was ruthless, but so was Queenpin Jemiker Thompson. Evicted from her home at a young age, she partnered with a man named Anthony M. Daff, and together they ran a successful cocaine trafficking business. But when tragedy struck and Daff was killed, Thompson was left devastated, yet determined to carry on their business. As the Queenpin, Thompson expanded her empire by making additional connections and moving into new territories throughout the United States. But all empires have their downfall, and Thompson's was in the form of a man named Cheese, who betrayed her and snitched to the authorities. Thompson knew she had to flee LA and go into hiding, but she couldn't outrun the long arm of the law forever. Finally captured at her son's 6th grade graduation ceremony after 2 years on the run, I ended up being on the run after her ex-boyfriend of mine got busted. She was subsequently convicted of charges related to drug trafficking and sentenced to 15 years in prison. But Thompson found redemption through her faith in God and began serving as a minister to other inmates. She was released in 2005 and now runs Second Chance Ministries in South Central LA, where she preaches about the power of second chances in life. Thompson's incredible story is chronicled in her memoir, Queen Pin, which she co-wrote with David Ritz. Number 3. Angie Sanz Clementine. From beauty queen to narco queen, Angie Sanselment Valencia's life story reads like something out of a movie. But this is no Hollywood script. It's a real-life tale of a woman accused of running one of the world's largest drug syndicates. Starting out as a lingerie model, Sanselment quickly made a name for herself in the fashion industry. But she was not just a lingerie model, but also a TV actress in both Colombia and Mexico. It seems that her obsession with looking like Colombian model Natalia Paris led her down a path to drug trafficking. Her career took a dark turn when she allegedly began paying young women to smuggle cocaine from Argentina to Mexico. How did this former beauty queen become involved in the dangerous world of drug trafficking? There are some who speculate that Sanselment's looks and charm may have helped her rise to the top of the drug syndicate, as she was known to pay young women up to $5,000 to smuggle cocaine from Argentina to Mexico. Her arrest was triggered by the capture of 2 of her cocaine mules, one of whom was a young beauty named Ariel L., who worked in the advertising industry. Sanselment, who declared her innocence on Facebook, was eventually fingered as the ringleader by 6 other alleged gang members. Even her mother flew in to protest her daughter's innocence, claiming that there was a plot against her. However, Sanselment's fear of prison was more tangible. She believed that her looks would make her vulnerable to mistreatment behind bars. Despite her mother's protests, Sanselment was eventually extradited to the United States to face drug trafficking charges. She was sentenced to 87 months in prison in 2012. Despite serving just half of her 6-year sentence, she was forced to relocate from an Argentinian prison to one in Colombia after being targeted by inmates. Been here 1 year and 7 months. I'm innocent of all the accusations. Number 2. Melissa Margarita. Well, let us introduce you to Melissa Margarita Calderon Ojeda, aka La China, the alleged drug trafficker and hit woman from Mexico. Born on August 12, 1984, this lady is said to have been the boss lady of Las Fuerzas Especiales de los Damaso, an enforcer group of the Sinaloa Cartel under the command of Damaso Lopez Núñez. But things went south for her when she lost her leadership position and had to flee with her lover, El Chino Lopez, and some members of Southern California gangs. Rumor has it that La China is responsible for over 150 killings in Mexico and is believed to have sparked several violent clashes in La Paz. La China's journey into the criminal underworld began in 2005 when she joined the notorious Sinaloa Cartel. She rose up the ranks and became the commander of the Damaso Cartel until she was dethroned by El Grande, the same gang leader responsible for the death of her first beau, Eric Davalos von Borstel. But don't underestimate La China's grit and determination. She didn't sit back and let El Grande get away with it. Nope, she fought back with her second lover, Hector Pedro Camarena Gomes, aka El Chino, and led a rebellion against El Grande's reign. Unfortunately, this fierce lady was caught at the airport in Cabo San Lucas trying to catch a flight to Culiacan. And now she's cutting out her years in the Federal Social Readaptation Center Number 1. Number 1. Griselda Blanco. Griselda Blanco, the notorious drug lord and head of the Medellin cartel, was a daredevil in the cocaine trade of the 1980s. Known as La Madrina or the Godmother, she was the queen pin of the Miami underworld and responsible for countless murders throughout Colombia and the United States. Blanco wasn't just a ruthless criminal, but also a shrewd businesswoman who knew how to get the job done. She had a direct line to the white powder in Colombia and had young women smuggle cocaine in their bras and underwear. She even designed special undergarments for this purpose. But Griselda's rise to power wasn't an easy one. She grew up in a poverty-stricken neighborhood in Cartagena, Colombia, and she was was forced to turn to crime at a young age. At just 11 years old, she allegedly kidnapped and killed a 10-year-old boy. She later fled to Medellin, where she survived by pickpocketing and selling her body. At 13, Blanco met and married Carlos Trujillo, a smuggler of undocumented immigrants into the United States. They had 3 sons together, but their marriage was far from a happy one. Blanco had Trujillo killed in the 1970s, the first of her 3 husbands to meet a brutal end. It was her second husband, Alberto Bravo, who introduced Griselda to the cocaine trade. They moved to Queens, New York, where their business exploded, taking a hefty chunk of business away from the Italian mafia. This is when Blanco became known as the Godmother. But in 1975, everything fell apart. Blanco and Bravo were busted by a joint NYPD DEA sting called Operation Banshee, the largest at the time. Blanco managed to escape to Colombia before she could be indicted and allegedly killed Bravo in a shootout over missing millions. She was now in full control of her drug empire and earned the title of the Black Widow. After the bust, Blanco continued to send cocaine to the United States while running her business from Colombia. She allegedly smuggled cocaine aboard a ship known as the Gloria, which the Colombian government had sent to America as part of a bicentennial race in New York Harbor. In 1978, Blanco married husband number 3, a bank robber named Dario Sepulveda. Her 4th son, Michael Corleone, was born that same year, and she named him after Al Pacino's character from The Godfather. Don't be afraid, Carlo. But Blanco's life of luxury was far from over. She moved to Miami and became the queen of cocaine, hosting wild parties and living a lavish lifestyle. However, Blanco's violent past caught up with her, and she was arrested in 1985 for drug trafficking. In 2004, she was deported back to Colombia, where she lived a quiet life until her death in 2012, when she was gunned down in the streets of Medellin. See you in the next one.